Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the Spiritual Inspired Show. I am your host, Claudiu Murgan. For older episodes, please visit auravers.network, spiritualinspired.ca, or our YouTube channel. My guest today is Tom Attig. Tom, thank you for joining me today.
This is going to be fun. Thank you.
Yes. You write about a subject which is not fun, but you try to bring some closure to certain people who go through this type of grief. And I would like to start the discussion by defining what death is, because it represents different things from different people, from different cultures. So, what is your definition of death?
Um, it's the end of life.
Okay. And based on I mean, end of life as we know it in
Yes,
this physical body, correct?
yes.
Perfect. And you are relearning the word, or relearning the word is one of your most recognized ideas. What does that phrase mean in lived everyday terms for someone, 3 weeks into loss versus 3 years?
Um, I would say it means that um, a lot isn't going to be possible anymore, given that a loved one has died. And the relearning involves um, relearning how to live in your everyday life with and in your physical surroundings, in your social surroundings, and in the wider world. And it involves entering unanticipated or anticipated still new chapters of your life story. Um, your daily life pattern is inevitably different given that a major player, a life partner, a child, a parent, a good friend, is no longer physically present. And lots of things happen in your home life, in your daily work life, in your neighborhood life, in your church life, um, in your social life in general. A major player is missing, and the way you thought your life was going to unfold in the next chapters can't be what you thought it was going to be if you had an idea of that person still being around. So major changes have to be undertaken. But in the meantime, right now, you're in a kind of a crisis where the last thing you feel like is able to just turn on a switch and go off in a different direction. It's as if you've been punched in the gut or a heavy weight has fallen on your shoulders and you're, you're catching your breath or you have to catch your breath. Um, and grieving can take, well, if it's relearning how to live, you can ask a simple question. Um, I do this with audiences, I'll do it with you. If anybody in your audience listening to this or watching this wonders about what I'm talking about, um, ask yourself this question. You've been learning how to live your entire life. You feel like you're finished? If you feel like you're done learning how to live, raise your hand. I've never seen anybody in an audience raise their hand. All right. If grieving involves relearning how to live, that's likely to be a lifelong adventure. I can think of two things that will go on for the rest of your life. You will miss the person who has died as long as you live. And if you love them, you will continue loving them as long as you live. So closure, I suppose, can come on sort of small areas of concern where you can kind of close a chapter and so on, but closure on grieving or on loving the person who has died is not a reasonable aspiration. I would discourage people from trying to close the pages of the book that capture the story of your life with this person.
Yes, and I think it doesn't matter if someone witness a long disease in their loved one, and that process took maybe 3 years, 4 years, or more, rather than it happened overnight. I think, and you can confirm or not, if the pain is the same and the process has to be similar.
I think there's kind of an extra burden if you've lived with this person through a very difficult, challenging illness. There can be trauma and the like that are attached there. And if someone sort of dies in their sleep, there can be shock the next morning when you find them that way, but you haven't been through something agonizing together. And going through something agonizing together can become preoccupying, can be very heavy. The pain can continue. The distortion in how you live your life can be considerable. If you do that, taking care of someone who's dying intimately, day to day, for a long period of time, it can become hard to remember the good times. And there can be a lot of distortion in your thinking of who they are or who they were. It can be hard to retrieve a lot of the good memories when you have those bad memories weighing on you right now and you're just exhausted as you're trying to put your life together. It compounds the hurt. It's not just grief and loss of their presence and so on, but uh, it's kind of ambiguous because you're relieved that they're not suffering in your presence anymore and you're not carrying a heavy load anymore. But it can be hard to retrieve that easier comfort and joy in having them in your life when you've got all of that terrible history that you've just accumulated to work your way past.
Yes, and I think if it happens overnight, that type of closure is even harder to do, just because, let's say you have a fight with the loved one the night before, and you told yourself some, harsh words, and now you are regretting what you said. You didn't have the chance to say, "Forgive me, I love you."
Uh,
And that burden, I think, will stay with you for a long time, and will weigh you down even more than going through that, again, lengthy process where you had the time to exchange anything that happened between those two people or the family members over the years.
I think um, the burden will be different depending on how much you unloaded the anger and resentment and gave voice to it, as opposed to just held it inside and let it kind of sour your relationship, but left it unspoken. Um, you can kind of beat up on yourself, but be grateful that you didn't really let them know how awful it was to do some of the things that you had to do. And other people may be better than you are at seeing what they were doing as just out of love, and it was a natural expression of love, and so on. We can really beat up on ourselves when we're enduring things that are physically exhausting, confusing, hard to see, hard to hear, hard to sleep with, and so on. And it's really difficult to resist blaming the person who can't help what they're doing. But there they are, and you're doing the blaming, so you've got some guilt to work your way through on top of everything else. That's really hard.
Yes, indeed. And if grief is a process of relearning, as we discussed, what are the first skills you wish schools, workplaces, and families taught about loss, before anyone is forced to learn them the hard way?
I think we have to learn to lessen expectations. We need to um, allow the best we can for either a timeout for grieving or at least a serious lessening of expectations for carrying on as usual. And I, I really don't know, but there have been lots of contexts through the years where people expect, well, you had the funeral. Aren't you done now? Didn't that take care of your grief? Said, No, actually, I'm coming home from a funeral or a service or a ritual of some sort or another, a gathering together to remember this person that I've loved. And I'm finding that there's a hole at the dinner table. Conversation is now um, dampened, confused. Nobody knows what to say. People are afraid of hurting me, so they don't say anything, which leaves me losing them as well as the person who just died. All kinds of complications arise out of people trying to be too careful with me, as opposed to saying, uh, I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I know that it's difficult, and I'm not going to turn my back. I'll be with you in any way you'd like me to be with you. And if you want time out, I'll give you time out. You need to be in charge of your experience. I'm not the wisest one. I'm not the one who knows what you're going through. You are, and I expect it's far more difficult than I can imagine. So I want to be patient with you and um, keep you understanding that I'm really caring about what's happening for you.
Yes, and I saw firsthand about this process with my mom when my father passed several years ago. And she took very much, I mean, she really took care of him over his last 3 years because he was sick. He couldn't move by himself. And she almost passed at the same time because she didn't take care of herself and she was also sick.
Well, that's
And
very possible. Yeah.
yes, and since then she's still blaming herself that she thinks that maybe my father blamed her because she didn't take care of him much deeper or whatever has she has in her mind. And I tried to tell her, no, it's not true. I saw it. You put all the efforts you could give into that process. So stop torturing yourself. So some people, and I've been trying to explain to her to let go of that guilt. But in most people, I think that will stay with them till the rest of their life.
Um, Guilt is a difficult burden. Uh, she knows what her motivations were. She knows what the history was. Um, I suppose she could be asked to ask herself some questions. Um, does she honestly believe that her husband, your father, blames her for falling short in how she cared for him? Um, I doubt that in her heart of hearts she really does. If she's religious and believes in a deity, do you really think that God is blaming you for your failing and how you took care of your husband? Um, I think people can sometimes need uh, sophisticated and gentle counseling through answering those questions. Um, would your husband want you to spend the rest of your life blaming yourself for making him miserable? Were you responsible for the illness that he had? No. Was anyone responsible for that? No. Is it really hard when it comes? Yes. Did you do your best? Yes. How would he like you to live the rest of your life? Would he want you to love your children? Would he want you to be with your friends? Would he want you to continue believing whatever it is that you believed about um, human limitations and a need for forgiveness? Would he want you to be recognizing that whatever shortcomings there may have been, on the whole, you did a better job than just leaving him by the curb? Uh, um, and just, I think most people who die want their loved ones to do anything but beat up on themselves for the rest of their lives. He was married to her for however many years it was, and together they came to love and care about lots of things. Typically, the person who dies would want your mother to carry on with the things that mattered to the two of them together and that mattered most to her in living a good life. He devoted his whole life to her and supporting her in doing the best she could in living a happy life. Um, and if you really imagine a spouse wanting you to be miserable because he died, you're looking at a very interesting spouse that you have to divorce a little bit, I think, after they're gone. And, you know, it could be that people sometimes, I doubt your mother was living in that kind of situation, but sometimes people do live in relationships that have that element of thank God you're married to me or you would be a miserable wretch. And it's okay for me if you return to being a miserable wretch again. That's what I really want for you. You got a divorce from that. You need, and you might need some help if you're really feeling that way. That is a terrible place to be.